Hi. So the today's session we'll be covering about the phases of cyber attack. What are the phases of cyber attack? Why I say it's phases? The attack does not happen immediately, or it's not happening on a fraction of a second or end in a fraction of a second. For any type of attack or any planned attack, it is similar to the real life attacks on any person, any organization, or any company, or any country even. The attacks will be happening in multiple phases. The initial phase will be reconnaissance, understanding, gathering information about the target, studying more about it, understanding more about the target we about to attack. So we talk about things in detail, and so with this, basically we try to manipulate things, and we try to download some other tools, some freely available tools, which can help us to understand more on the cyber attacks. Okay, the objective for today, what are we going to take away from this session? We'll be understanding the basic concepts of cybercrime and what are the types of cybercrime, the techniques and phases of cyber attack. Why do we need to have an enterprise-wide security framework to ensure that everything is secure, and the frameworks and any guidelines and policies which are available for us, it's only help us in defending the environment. So no other guide, no prescriptions which is freely available or which is prescribed by any other body which is completely offensive in nature. So the cybersecurity for us, 90% of the goal, 95% of the contribution from every community and every general body who takes care of the cybersecurity restrictions or cybersecurity enhancements, they provide defensive security guidelines alone. And only the remaining 5% of people who work on offensive security, who try to go offensive on the own organization. We'll talk about the hackers and what are the different type of hackers available in it. And I'll take you to a NIST cybersecurity framework. As we see that NIST is available on almost all of the domains. They provide guidelines on cloud computing. They were providing guidelines on the cryptography as well. So NIST is almost an integral part of any domain of cybersecurity. And we'll be talking about the cybersecurity framework, which is specifically available for defensive framework one. And understanding the basic concepts around incident response. So, what is an incident response, and what are the steps we need to take, and what are the ways we can get ourselves prepared for any type of incident, and how to respond to it? Cybercrime is any criminal activity which involves computing devices or anything which happening over digitally. There is even any kind of crime. If you try to start bullying someone, if you try to attack someone in the physical world, obviously the person will get hurt physically. They might be bleeding, or they might be injured, they might be the same thing which can also do on the cyber world. We can same bully the person, we can attack the person, we can injure the person mentally. What happens when we threaten him over the emails, chat messages, over manipulated voice calls, or we keep on hearing that there are multiple leaks on various celebrities? What happens when we defame them? Obviously it's like injuring or attacking, or physically, not in the physical sense, it's in a cyber way. The mentally we are targeting some person, organization, or even on countries. So, as a meaning, what described on this slide, criminal activity that involves computing devices such as computers, tablets, phones, IoTs, network devices, or network. So, to be simply anything and everything happening, any crime which is happening over digital network. What are the examples of cyber crimes? Cyberbullying, threatening someone, or hacking someone's account, or defaming someone, or consistently. You can also see the multiple games we heard about, the Blue Whale game or the Momo games. These are the games which are making the people addicted over, and they threaten people to do some activities on behalf of the attacker. Even most of the scenarios, I mean, most of the kids and teenagers, we see that they even go to an end where they even sacrifice their life. What are the other things can happen? Identity theft, losing your identity, or someone stealing our identity. As I already gave you an example, that someone applied for a bank loan on behalf of myself, wherein I received an SMS stating that your application is successfully processed. So anywhere, because even as a security professional, we need to make sure that every data which is available on the internet to be protected, and that has to be taken care. Please also, there are multiple guidelines. Instead of following the multiple guidelines, we just need to follow the instinct, basic instinct, what our mind says, what our heart actually feels about. sharing something on in social media or sharing something on the internet for checking a person. I mean, it is obviously very easy for anyone can steal an identity like your SSNs, your other cards, whatever it may be. Anything can be taken off. There are various tools, multiple tools we can get from the internet, which are freely available. The open source intelligence, a lot of tools for gathering information. I believe the site is Petra. Okay, Multigo is one of the tools which are available. Actually, for training purpose, it is easy for us to go on with Multigo Community Edition. That's free and it is limited with features. We cannot expect 100% features available on the paid version. But anyway, we go for the one. Before downloading it, we need to register it as usual. So recently, why we have this kind of captchas? Nowadays, a lot of people see that the captchas are available whenever we fill in a form before we submit it. This is just to ensure that the things are not happening by a robot or a bot. I have not filled the name, email address. I just entered the password because the form was pre-filled. Because when I get in, everything was predefined. It is easy for us to set up the values of any target. If it asks for a name, it should give something. If it asks for a last name, it should give a value. If it asks for your email address, telephone number, date of birth, everything that can be pre-configured in a list and that can be passed on to any number of forms within a minute. Or I mean, manually if I enter a form, it would take at least 30 seconds or a minute to complete this form and log into this page, complete this activity. But what makes it easy, when I automate it, when I use a script or when I use an application, I can create hundreds of accounts within a minute because every time I can provide a random value. So just to stop it, ensure that it's not bot activity. It gives these kind of captures or other mechanisms. So I'm registering. Okay, the email address already exists. So then I need to log in. Okay, let's go for Multigo Community Edition. We need to find a download link. Okay, we have the flavor supporting multiple operating systems, Windows, Linux, Mac. So I'm choosing Windows. Actually, I don't have Java to run it because most of these open source softwares which are freely available are written for Linux because we don't find much of the testing tools or offensive security tools for Windows platform. But even when we want to run it, most of the applications need Java support. So just to make sure if some of your tools which are downloaded by on the internet and they're not working on your platform, please make sure that you're using a latest version of Java installed. And here we click on the download. I'm downloading the exe file along with the Java executable. So it's around 160 MB in size. Okay, this is an identity theft where we left and cyber terrorism. As like the real world, everything happening over the internet, people spreading some activity which are related to their community, or people convincing them to join digital army, or any kind of crime or any kind of terrorism activity, terrorism kind. Not only attacking, like convincing people to do something, creating and publishing the games like Momo games or Blue Whales. Those are categorized under terrorism. The computer viruses that's more frequently available, just to make sure they are damaging our system personally or anything. It may be a smartphone or a computer or a desktop, whatever that may be. What are the categories of cybercrime? The computer systems, where the target as a technology, and other thing, the technology as a weapon. The tools which are available for us and the tools which are we demonstrating, these are not software simply. We call them as weapons. Weapon can be used for protection and as well as destruction. So we are using these weapons for, I mean, the purpose, how we use it. The computer systems, network, and any kind of personal or business enablers. There are a lot of things. Even there could be attack on the pacemakers. There is obviously possible for a person to pass on the electromagnetic signals or electromagnetic waves, or just to diffuse or just to confuse the function of a pacemaker. What typically a pacemaker does, it ensures that the heartbeat rhythm is normal and it is artificially managed. So when manipulating the things, what could cause it? It can definitely hack a person's life. So the each and every technology can be remotely handled or tackled or taken down or manipulated in any way. So that purpose of an application which was actually designed is make sure to be a good or to cause something good for the maker or for the general public. If you produce a software which makes good, it makes delivers a better performance or it enhances some features or anyway, some or other way, if your application helps others, it means a good software. If the software destructs in general, and if that gives only the benefit for the developers, that mean the software is malicious and it's not intended for using. So what is hacking? Hacking is not only just defacing or getting unauthorized of access of a system, taking down a system, breaking down a system. Hacking is general term which is taking advantage of something. If you're a better craftsman, you can hack into some existing design and you can manipulate it, you can enhance the performance, you can enhance the feature of it. It is something, if you are able to modify the existence of something, it is called as hacking. When you add something, your TV speakers are not working fine, and if you're good in electronics or if you're good in acoustics or sound system, when you make something, when you attach some existing advanced audio system to your existing television, and you can simply call it as I hacked the television system, now it's my entertainment system. It is no more a regular TV and audio system, it's an entertainment. So similarly, when you enhance or update or modify the existing performance of a particular thing, it's called hacking. But in the real world, we use the term hacking as a wrong sense. That means obviously the people hack me, the people will damage us, the people will destroy something. Nowhere like that. Depending on the purpose of hacking, it differs. Usually, people will speak about two different hackers. One is with the white hat, and other one is with the black hat. White hat people do the same hacking. Hacking in the sense they try to manipulate, they try to modify, they try to take advantage of something, the application or a hardware or infrastructure, anything it may be. It is just to check how the environment or how the application or how the hardware is. And is there a possibility of making it advanced? Is it a possibility of making it work better? Or if there is any patch to make it good? These are the ways the white hat hackers could think. And also, they would be helping the organization to identify the organizational weakness. They are the specialist. They use the same kind of cyber weapons just to test the environment, whether any vulnerabilities available in the network side or hardware side, or even on the configuration part. People can identify it and they can create a report. The testing phase will be so interesting. That was wonderful. We can spend time even for a couple of days, couple of weeks, or month. We can test it. I mean, the part which I feel bad is the reporting part. We need to rewrite everything is in theory. I mean, including the screenshots and why was the attack so critical and how to manipulate, how to make it repeat. I mean, what are the procedures and step-by-step procedure to reproduce it? That's a hefty task of a white hat hacker. Typically, the black hat hacker, what they do the same thing. They use the same cyber weapons. They use to manipulate the network. They try to penetrate the network, exfiltrate. They do everything for their personal cause. The person who has a bad intention with good professional or technical skills. And also one more person who sits in between, who can be called as a gray hat hacker. He would be neither a good person nor a bad person. Maybe for some time he works as a good. Obviously, there would be change in his behavior, and we cannot trust the people whether he could be a black hat or a white hat. He would know. He would be always like a neutral cat which is standing on a wall, which can jump on either side. And as for the description on this slide, white hat hacking carries out planned, approved, and ethical reasons. The one more thing is planned, approved, and ethical reason. Because when you do a pen testing, it is obviously you need to get a written approval from the concerned team or concerned organization. Without a consent of written agreement or email agreement, anything, whatever it may be, signed agreement, you should not carry out any testing over a network or any kind of thing. Because obviously it will lead you to legal action or anything that can cause. Because cyber law is not so strict or not so strict in our country, but even though the company which is not a part of an Indian company and he's from a different region and who follows a strict cybersecurity guidelines and cybersecurity law, obviously there is a possibility of getting it demanded through the government. And anyway, in one day or another, because every company will not obviously sue you, but there is obviously chance of getting penalized and face the legal consequences when we do the same testing without approval, even for a good purpose. But the same other people, they don't mind. They don't need authorization. They will not be ethical, and their intention is personal gain, or typically just for happiness, just for fun, or just to destroy the competitor company, etc. So we call the black hat hackers as people who are not ethical enough, who lives in a darker place, who not come out and work on the dark secrets. So, what are the incentives of crime? What is the purpose of crime? And what are the motivation of it? With this picture, we can see that there are 1% of people who looks for the reward. Reward in the sense that I already said to you, there are a lot of communities where is available. That is called bug crowd or bug bounty target. There is plenty is available. In there, people will openly host their softwares or openly host their hardware, or they want you to test the software and hardware to find bugs, and when you find a bug, obviously they will pay you in huge cash. So the vulnerability disclosure, the next generation pen testing, the bug bounty. The bug bounties are where we can demonstrate the ethical hacking skills and make it cash. Because usually these kind of hackers will be paid well on the organization. But even as a part-time, you can do it. The other percentage of fraction of people, 51% of people doing these activities, the intention of it is for the fun and thrill. People even does not bother carrying the money, fame, or something. They carry this only for thrill and fun, typically. What even some people do that if there is any site is challenging, or any site is complicated, some people even say that my site is 100% protected or my company is 100% secured. It is easy for someone to try his skills on the web application or the real enterprise network or the cloud network, just to make sure that he is able to breach it. If he's able to break it, what happens? There are a lot of web pages where we can find like Pastebin. These are freely available Pastebin, some kind of online notepads where people steal the credentials and post it on the internet. Look, when we search for it, 1.4 billion clear text credential discovered in a single database Pastebin. For example, we can try opening any of it. We are not sure how confident it is. Okay, these are seems to be looking like a script which automates some kind of attacks. Excite process fake. For example, if the email address and passwords are freely posted on some place, how the raw data looks like, it is easy for anyone to compromise a network, and you can simply publish it on the internet. When the credentials are out, it is easy for any person who can get into it, get access into it. So nowhere the digital network or digital devices are 100% secure. And as we see that 51% of people working for fun and thrill alone. Only the 19% works on the money and the gains, what they gain, and the 29% of moral issues. This is the simple chart which explains why the attacks are happening, what is the intention of it. And cyber attacks making news every day, not only a single day, every day news. Contents which are seeing here would be maybe from 2017, or maybe this was designed 6 months or 1 year ago. Even you people might hear the Pakistani banks got hacked. When you simply click on a cyber attack on a news, banks in cyber attack, no, November 9, cybersecurity access needed for better practice. UK will be hit by category 1 cyber attack, says the government. These attacks are publicly disclosed. I mean, they inform that they are getting attacked. I mean, they will be informing that you'll be getting attacked. So the everyday the vectors and the weapons the people use are more complex and more sophisticated, and that can do huge damage. And I can tell you an example. A bank from America got hacked because it got partner with a bank of Bangladesh. That comes under the operational risk. I mean, business logic risk. Because without the due diligence, the bank from America got contract with bank in Bangladesh for financial transaction and everything. So what happening between the Bank of America, or the bank from America trusting the bank from Bangladesh, so the network between the Bangladesh bank and America bank could be secure. They might be having an IPsec tunnel or a VPN tunnel, or they might be having an MPLS secure connection. Any type of network connectivity between these two banks could be secure. But when a person is able to infiltrate or intrude into the Bank of Bangladesh, it is easy for him to go to the bank which is located in America and make the transaction. And within minutes and within hours, there were millions of transactions happening around the Asian countries, and that was a huge breach. So not only protecting your network, you need to make sure that who are you contacting with and who are you giving authorization with. Any misused credential, because we see that the credentials were publicly available. What could be one of the credential? Maybe your cloud account, admin account. When you give a cloud admin account of your enterprise, what happens? Obviously, there is a possibility of making it changes or getting your total enterprise down. So it is always advisable for having a multi-factor authentication for any sensitive accounts. For even for a standard account, it is necessary to implement a multi-factor authentication, like username, password, along with token number, OTP number, iris scanner, fingerprint scanner, whatever is feasible for you. Cyber attack. What are the categories of cyber attack? What are the types of cyber attack? Compromising of a computer or a network device. That is more common and more frequent. And the beauty of it, 99% of breaches or compromised are not even getting detected. That's how the security of any environment works on. I was supporting for us enterprise customers once, wherein I handled threats, risk. I mean, I especially work on not work on much on configurations and installation part. I work on the threat, and I love to play with it. Whenever I see a compromisation in the network or anything, when I talk to the people or when I talk to the senior team, they even not sure that there was a breach, that there was an existing misconfiguration or existing tamper of the network protection is already done. It is obviously it is a human tendency to forget things or laziness or irresponsibility or not following the proper procedures or proper checklist step by step. When you do something, you need to have a particular list. What are the things, the planning? Even I seen that on large enterprises, not only a company scaled of 100 to 200. Neither in my experience as a support for customers, I handle at least 1,000 to 1,500 incidents to be minimum in 3 years span. Most of the targets, most of the infections, most of the damages not caused by the advanced malwares. These were regular infections, regular malware which spread across, which was not controlled, which was not proactively defended, which was not configured even. How can we detect malware in advance? In mean proactively. Proactively, there are multiple ways why the malwares, I mean the antivirus softwares are not detecting your malware is you are excluding some particular folders. There is always a thumb of rule. The AV softwares will always exclude the applications, the folders, or devices. Whatever you exclude it, it means that you are letting know the antivirus software that it is a trusted application. So you should not do anything to it. It may be good for some occasions. What if you are a developer? You are a software firm. You are developing some software which uses network tracking or network tracing, or if it needs some other advanced features which looks similar to a malware. But antivirus could easily block it or delete it, quarantine it, whatever. It can damage your project. So on those occasions, you can exclude a particular folder or not the complete subfolders or subtrees or giving exclusion to your root folder. That would be a huge mistake. And these are the ways people are getting there. When we found why these malwares are not infected, I mean, not protecting, the antivirus are not catching the malwares. Yeah, typically when you give an exclusion to the user folders or when you give exclusion to the C drive, anything and everything runs from it or anything downloaded to the folder will be trusted, and antivirus will not take any action on the exclusions. Ransomwares can be come through any way. There is one way method of distributing is phishing, malvertising, or sometimes even defacing or making a honeypot. Watering hole is a concept wherein, for example, if a LinkedIn page, phishing not only may be in a happening on an email, it may be through an SMS, it may be through misdirected URLs. You might be wrongly routed to something, DNS poisoning. There are many ways. Just to distribute the package to your computer, it's easy. We don't trust as a hacker or an attacker. I will not trust rely on a single method of distribution. I'll use multiple sources and multiple vectors to get into you. So the exclusions should be properly taken care of, and even the network. When you exclude a particular subnet or particular type of devices, particular complete entire intranet, obviously, any traffic between your computers inside the network will not be monitored or that will not be tracked. Even if it has a good exception, what would the IDS or what would the IPS would do? Usually, the intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system, those devices are not cheaper devices. those would be more costlier, and having a high budgeted devices on it and misconfiguring it obviously lead for, I mean, misconfiguring it or not configuring it bad, it's just like there is no device in between or no protection in between, to be simpler. So again, disruption of service, we can take down one of your DNS server or deface your general login page. When you take down your login page, people will obviously not able to log in. They will not be able to work from home or connect to your corporate and work remotely. So that could be some of the disruption in the service. Data theft we've seen multiple times. Any data, whatever it may be, your personal data, your customer data, your company data. Even a company can decide the data is not worth and it is useless, but that could give so much information to a hacker or so much information to the competitor. So the classification of data is so much important. So that's why we can categorize it. That's how we can protect it. Even if the data is not required, it's not valid, and it is no longer important to you, proper disposal of data is important. If it's a printed material, you always use a shredder and just chunk the papers out wherein no one can arrange it back and read it. And even if you want to erase it, there are multiple ways to securely erase the data from your computer. Simply deleting it, and if it goes to the recycle bin or getting it back from the recycle bin, even a kid from first standard or second standard could do. But even for deleting some file from a computer and recovering it using a data recovery software, there are multiple. To be easy, everything is available online, and most of the tools are freely available. So there are, when you call for a data recovery or when you check for a data recovery, you get multiple softwares wherein you can run on a particular sector of your hard drive and recover the data which was accidentally deleted or intentionally deleted. It is nowhere safe. So injections are more common, more frequent. When you take as a web application, obviously they are injecting the query strings or injecting additional script code on the regular program. The cross-site scripting or cross-site forgery attacks, both are similar to the injection type. They are just injecting unwanted or a malicious code in your existing working regular program. But in a regular Windows based application which is already installed, there are people have technologies or techniques to inject in rogue DLLs, rogue EXEs, or rogue OSX files, any supporting file that can be injected on a normal EXE file which can perform malicious tasks. It is not recommended to have more than one or two softwares because we don't want to reduce the performance. Combination of two antivirus is not good, but if you have antivirus installed and if you have a anti-malware component, I mean, if you have a intrusion prevention system or any other technology of protection is installed that needs to be installed, that can be done. But having a two different antivirus, what will be happening is for any type of file accessed or any type which is in memory, two applications will be scanning the same thing. There is a possibility of getting conflict between these two applications that might reduce it. And my suggestion would be not having softwares for the same purpose. If your antivirus A1 takes care of only about the antivirus, you can take care of it or you can install it. If the antivirus 2 specifically designed and it works only with the spywares and adwares and it does not interfere with any of the antivirus 1's activity, you can obviously have it. And advanced persistent threat are not so common to the civilians or small to medium scale enterprises. These APTs are so advanced and these are developed by highly trained professionals, and it will be mostly a state sponsored or a country to country attack or a country to large organization attack. So on those occasions, the APTs will be come into place. But you will not find it on your computer, and even if it's on a computer, we will not know that whether it resides as a malware or not. It will not work until it gets. I mean, most people might seen a movie like Holiday or Tamil movies, Tupaki, etc., wherein people call as a sleeper cell, right? These APTs will behave exactly same to the say sleeper cell. It will be in your computer. It will be on a network device. It will be on multiple parts, fragmented across multiple devices. Until you receive a command, it will not function. Even for years or months, it will be stay inactive. Compromise of a device. What are we going to get from compromising a device? We'll be getting the full control over it, and we can do anything. If I have a full control over a computer device, I can restrict access for other users, or I can do additional tasks which are not intended for me. I mean, which are not I'm designated into. When you have got, I mean, for example, when you have root access, admin access, power user credentials, anything you can do that. For elevation of privilege, elevation of privilege is nothing but from a standard user or a normal user, you are getting yourself as a super user or a power user. I mean, your privilege of the user account is getting increased. So what happens? The outcome, once the control is achieved, it gives a huge power to the hacker to carry on multitude of attacks. So when you gain an administrator account, you can use the account to take over other systems on the network as well. So getting compromising a single device will lead you total network down. As a security saying, there would be always people say that you are as strong as your weakest link. Every link has to be strong enough just to hold. So if any one of the link is weak, obviously the chain will get broken. It is always mandatory to treat each and every device and every node or every host connected as a weakest chain, and we need to treat them as a weakest chain and to protect them as much possible as we can. So the disruption in the service, what we can have disruption in the service, we normally the service will not function properly, or there is a poor performance in the service. So what are the outcomes? System failure, system downtime, revenue loss, reputation loss. Reputation loss, yeah. For example, when the third party tries to log in to access, I'm using Office 365 as an email. For example, if I'm not able to log into the email online and I'm not able to send or receive emails, or even if I log into Gmail or not, that could be a reputation loss. The fitness tracking app, that was also known that when a GPS enabled tracking device which gave the exact map of what are the infrastructure, mostly the Google Maps or any other mapping network, that will be highly censored, and you can only see the civilian information on Google Maps or any map which is freely available. Even NASA have published this map, but the maps are censored. Any military or any confidential information will not be available. But these kind of fitness apps which are connected to a GPS enabled fitness device, obviously a person can track how long or what is his physical activity and what are the areas he moves, just to make sure calculating the right amount of information. But that was stolen, and it was helped bad guys to track exactly where he goes and what is his office locations. If a person typically from 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, he is being in a particular location, what it is easy for us to guess. 9 to 5 on a particular location from Monday to Friday, every day, every week he goes, obviously that might be his work location. So tracking his GPS location and tracing out where exactly it goes, where are the areas he rounds, with it we can give a visual map of it. Okay, this is one of the tool which I was informing you, that Multigo, which has multiple editions. We are using the Multigo Community Edition, which is free. But just to run it, we need to have account registered, and it will not have complete features. I should be receiving password in my email, so I can check what was the offer at the time. If I want to pursue a course on blockchain on December Jan 2017, it was around $399. Okay, I can compare it. What is the exact growth it is? If it's costing $300, why it was cost $99 extra at that time? Or if it costing $500, why it was costing $100 extra at this time? So for gauging performance, financial status, or what is the market value of a stock at the time, we can compare how, what is the growth, and what are the changes, what are the major plans which made the company to grow or company to destruct. So we can use one of this wayback tool. These are types of reconnaissance. So objective of an ATP, what it is, it's a long-term reconnaissance. It will stay in your computer, it will stay stealthy, and not an antivirus or high-end appliance can detect it, because it will not function. When the ATP is split across, a component 1 is residing on computer 1 and component 2 is residing on computer 2, for example, if I scan only the component 1, I would not find anything from it. The component 2, I individually scan the component, it would not work on it. The ability to act on targets quickly after establishment. So once everything is done, when the action is triggered, it is like a software, I mean regular software application, which also get the patches, upgrades available. Have you heard about the malwares which are getting upgrades available, like Windows Update? So whenever they find, even in the inside the network, they'll be testing it, how it works. When one of the component is not functioning, obviously it will replace it, it will get itself downloaded, or if any of the new modules or improved code or improved functionalities available, it will be automatically replaced. So when it's in the network, it can be self-destructive. There is no need for anyone to go. If I need to delete it, I can get it deleted permanently and also securely. Even people cannot recover. There is a news that Virus Total is an important web page, web application where it gathers open source intelligence on the malware. Virus Total is I cannot say it is a subsidiary of Google. You can search if you find any search to be malicious. You can scan the URL. If you get some email from any malware with AI function, artificial intelligence, what will do on a residual file? It will not go and scan each and every file when the components are inactive. It will not go to the level where it reads the code in it. The AI component, advanced machine learning, deep intelligence, these are all marketing terms which are not actually work on the real life environment. Any antivirus company will say that they are sophisticated, they work on it, but typically on the real world, it has to work. And for the AV to work properly, we need to configure it. For configuration, we need to understand the environment. What are the attack types? Actively we can attack or passively we can attack. So what we actively do, we can actively we do the intrusion. Intrusion is just penetrating or getting into your network or into your computer, make disruption to the service or your computer environment or making it crash. That's actively you can do it. Some examples for it: the denial of service, high utilization of resources, system resources to perform it, make it perform poor. Spoofing. Spoofing is something like if I got hacked into your computer, I can send emails from your email address. Most people have the tendency of remembering the password on browser. If I get into your computer, I can access multiple accounts. When I open a browser, it will always show the pre-filled, autofill username passwords. So I get into any of your account. Or even if I don't, I can create some account like yourself and pretend that I'm messaging to someone on your behalf. The passive attacks can be like sniffing, password sniffing, network traffic sniffing. There will not be actively, will not be making the participation, but we'll be capturing the packets or monitoring the traffic or monitoring what activity is happening in the network. It is simply like the information gathering, reconnaissance phase, etc. This is spoofing. Attacker alters his identity or pretends to be someone else to the victim of the trust on behalf. If I talk to your friend as yourself, obviously he will trust. And what if I have a similar email address or creating a similar Facebook ID or similar Instagram ID, knowing some things about you? For knowing a person is so easy because when you work on a company, gathering information step by step, say simple phone calls will do. Call to the reception and check whether you're working there or not. If you're working, which team you're there. Just multiple calls or Google searches or LinkedIn's, the open source intelligence like Multigos. There is tools like Scrappy, which will gather information about a particular person or particular entity. The spoofing may be IP spoofing, email spoofing, web spoofing. Spoofing is manipulating or just making a false identity. Fortunately, we have a picture which explains what is a spoofing. Spoofing is also a kind of a man in the middle attack. The person in the left, the spoof IP is 10, 20, 254, 25 and 30. Actually, what the attacker's real IP is 10, 20, 25, 50. This is the IP address of the attacker. And he impersonates, he makes a spoof IP of the same person, and he sends a wrong message or he forwards a wrong packet, he targets something in the network base. Even a simple ARP request or ping request which can be created on behalf of this spoof ID. When I broadcast some unique packet, obviously a TCP packet will have a three-way handshake, and when I initiate the transaction, obviously a return will be sent to the target IP. So if I manipulate this IP with 10, 20, 25 and 30 and send it across not only a single victim IP and multiple IPs, what happens? The reply will come back to the spoofed IP and making it as a DAS attack. For a single reply broadcasted by a different person, the reply will be sent to the spoofed person. So thousands of replies or hundreds of reply comes to the person on a single point of time. There will be a single disruption in the network that can be also done with the IP spoofing method. Or you can impersonate that you're using this message. These sometimes the internet relay chats will use the IP address to reply back, similar to the Smurf attack of the DDoS. Okay, similarly, the destination alter, the hacker sends a hacker's real IP And what he sends is he sends from IP from 10.25.50 to the IP address. Similarly, just manipulating his IP address or email address, he clones or he modifies his existence. I mean, existing identification. Hacker impersonates or alters his own IP address to the spoofed IP address. The spoofed IP address is 10.20.25.50. The original IP address is 10.20.25.30. The hacker sends message to a receiving machine masquerading as spoofed machine. The receiver interprets the message as if it has been sent by the spoofed machine. So the real identity will not be visible, but the recipient will think that the person sits in the middle sent the attack actually. I mean, sent the message actually. The receiver replies back on the spoofed message. Thus, the hacker does not actually receive message from that machine, because in turn every computer will reply to the sender alone, not from the spoofed one. It is the computers or the network devices not so intelligent enough to identify the spoofs. So email spoofing is simply creating an email account or email impersonation. There are multiple web email security appliances which can identify the email impersonation. For example, what is it? ceo.rkm.organization yahoo.com. The actual email address is .ceo.rkm@organization.com, but instead of it, what it does is ceo.rkm@organization yahoo.com. A hacker creates a wrong ID. But when typically a person receives an email from it, most of the time the email address will be hidden and the first name and the last name of the email will be visible to the recipient. What happens when he got a ceo.rk email created and he creates the first name as the CEO and last name as the RKM? Obviously, the email will be displayed as CEO RKM sentiment. And if the person is good enough, the hacker is good enough, he can try creating the signature resembling the original one and the email body and it's the same font style and how exactly the typical person original person sends it. If he can replicate the same on his scenario, obviously it is easy for someone to trick other people with kind of email spoofing method. Web spoofing, when a person buys google.com instead of Google, he buys Googly or Gogol. And in this example, for funfair.com is the original one. These are the probabilities. Funfair, Fumfair, these are the probabilities the people will obviously type wrong. I mean, spelling mistake is making spelling mistake is a repeated human error. No one is perfect in typing. So obviously, there's a possibility of making it redirect to a different web page. And this web page can be look similar to Funfair. Even what will happen when a person types in a URL when he visits a web page, he will be curious in watching the content. What is visible? When I go virus total, I will be curious only on the content. I will not be noticing what exactly on the URL or what I type. When I type something instead of Funfair, I typed it Fumfair. I came to the same page resembling to the original one. I will not think bad about it. I will keep on browsing in it. If it gives some download, I'll start downloading it. If I want to make some transaction, financial transaction, obviously it's done. So the URL web spoofing is more common. These are all also one of the method where we can deliver the malwares into your computer. Watering hole is also a method wherein a particular set of employees, we track multiple employees of an organization. What are the regular pattern? Are they using Facebook frequently? Are they using a particular Facebook page frequently? Are they using a web page or web blog? What are the regular web, not only web oriented, any particular traffic? In real world scenarios also we can manipulate it. That is, actively we can social engineer. We can try to talk to him, we work with him, we sit with him, work with him, just to gather the information, whatever we can do. There is no limitation for any kind of attack. Every day the attack is expanding, the magnitude of attack is expanding. This is not how the techniques or tactics, the tools and weapons we used 10 years back. While there was an introduction in the hacking, I mean, people started using additional tips and tricks to manipulate things just for fun and practice. Yes, virus total will help you determining the false positive. You can get the hash or the location from where you download the file or hash value URL. You can search with it. That will give you the complete. So we try with the hash. When you search on hash, it not only searches with the single antivirus appliance, it scans with multiple AVs online. You have the major security vendors. When you search it, search the hash file, Avast, Fortinet, Malwarebytes, McAfee. zone alarm. These are the AVs which detected the actual malware. But others say still it's a trusted one. We can go inside and dig deeper enough. What is the actual P information? In which language it was written? What are the components associated with it? What are the DLLs associated with it? We can also check the relation between the other similar malware in it. So this is the registry key which was used in this. So when you see on this, every antivirus solution will have a particular naming convention. PUP, PUA, potentially unwanted application, potentially unwanted program, or the abbreviation of it. Advares, some call it as an adware Win32 version, just Win32 version, Win32 adware. These are the bundle, these are the families of the malwares which can be identified. If you want to know more about Sentinel-1, how this was classified, Sentinel-1 was the random type. Nano antivirus does not give anything about it. So the popular Malwarebyte should be giving a blog on it. Malwarebyte has it. So it tells you what is basic about, what type of infection is about. Symantec has a huge virus database. So each and every type of malware will have a detailed description of how it functions and when was the last detection, when was the antivirus release date, and manual removal method also will be provided. Analyzing the logs will not give you the hash values. Sometimes hashes may be obtained. It depends on what kind of log you analyze. Most of the time, we'll be knowing what kind of file it is. Actually, we'll start searching with the file name. For example, I got b4nx.ini. This is the file I was able to identify it. We need to search where this exactly located into, where it was related into. For example, if I usual temp places, if I'm on the temp, if I see something strange with the names or strange folders, I usually get into it just to see what inside it. And it is always a best practice to go with the tree view kind, not directly by double clicking the folders. Sometimes, or even it's a better idea to have the file extension added along, because sometimes the exe files will clone the icon and it will look like a folder. When you double click it, automatically it starts. So always have file extension enabled so that you ensure that what kind of extension you are working on. Is it exactly a folder or it's a file type? Some files even doesn't have a file extension. So this will be modified on the time. When you find suspiciously, when there is no file size, file type design, it is hard for you to determine to which application it relates to. But these are the files are common when you download, the malwares get downloaded. This will encoded characters cannot be read by humans. So even when you open some file, it will be jumbled or gibberished. We cannot read it. But the actual malware can translate it back and it can modify the file to a different executable or different readable, whatever. Machine can read things, but we are not smart enough to read as all the things machine reads. It is like tracing one thing, tracing a name. With the name, we get some location of it. With the location, we go to identify why this hash are actually available. We can try always use opening these kind of INF files, TMP files on a notepad or a word processor. My preferred word processor would be Notepad++, or some my colleagues use Sublime Text. So Malwarebytes gives information on it. Symantec gives information on it. You can even browse through it. There are plenty of sites where we can make leverage of. There are community-wise web pages, applications which can be used for us. DOS attack, we frequently see that just stopping the service or reducing the performance of something called as DOS, denial of service. Session hijacking. Session hijacking can be done by manipulating the cookies or session. What is a session? For every transaction, the TCP or HTTP or even a single application installed on the computer will maintain a session which is associated to a user. So what happens? This is some cookie editor, for example. I'm running it on edureka.com. These are the values of cookie available here. So this cookie be related to this web page will have multiple information about me. And when I get this thing, for example, if this is my value for joining, so by manipulating the values, I can definitely modify things. For value of a login session is GA1 dot. This is the one. When I manipulate it with something else, 5047 instead of 4750, I'll manipulate, I'll update and reload. The virus total is not working as per the cookie edition because every time when I refresh, the real value of the cookie is getting changed, but some sites would not. For example, this is how the session ID would look like. Alphanumeric, sometimes it's J session token or some token. When I get this, I can definitely modify it and open it on a different browser. This is the cookie editor, I got it. I'll copy the home page here. It asks me for a sign in username and password. Let me add up a cookie here. Copy the information. UI session. It's gone. Session. So I made a session. A simultaneous session is not valid. Usually we can capture the cookie session from any of the cookies available and we can clone it as per the browsers, whatever browser we can on live. This is how the session will be hijacked. Usually the session ID will be transmitted. When you enter a password in your network, in your corporate environment, when you type in your username and your passwords, it will not be sent to the network as a plain text or a ciphertext. Only the hash value of the password will be sent across. When the password of the hash value is sent across, we can have multiple decryptors or deciphering text. When we enter the hash value, we can get the similar original text. And with it, we can directly bypass the authentication mechanism of any Windows environment. Buffer overflow is one of the technique which is frequently we can see it on the Windows executables, not only Windows executables, Mac or Linux. What is a buffer? Buffer is a stack or a piece of chunk of memory which is allotted for a particular program. If you have a 1 GB of RAM or 2 GB of RAM, and if you run a multiple application, for example, I'm using a web browser Firefox here. Firefox uses a particular memory location on the physical RAM, or even if it's a page file storage, any storage where the system uses it. And what happens if some application tricks the memory and if it rewrites or changes the memory location or alters it, if a fixed location is given. So this is the room for your complete memory location, and the red portion here, we use the green. This is the actual location of Mozilla Firefox, which is utilizing, and the remaining portion is empty. So you cannot access it more. When a particular memory is processed, this is the allotted memory space. Whenever data is processed, it will be recycling the data. This is not a residual data, it is data on live, which will be periodically changed and actively monitored. So every chunk will have a separate memory address, separate memory address. This is for a process to be functioning. Every single function we have a separate. These are called a buffers on a memory. Complete memory stack, you'll be having buffer 1, buffer 2. We'll be flooding the memory with additional unwanted information. So the green area, which are reserved for other application and cannot be used, only the blue, which is available for Mozilla Firefox, and the black is unusable memory. And this is the available stack which is happening. But what I do, I'll start populating it with the red memory objects. So when I replace it, when I overwrite it, when I make flood it, I'll make confusion in the memory system just by using the regular memory addressing. I'll be manipulating it. I'll be flooding additional information to the existing buffer location that makes the application to malfunction or to crash. So the similar scenario can be used for crashing the application. If you are able to read the memory live, and if you are able to identify the memory location where the application resides, you can replace the particular function of Mozilla Firefox with your custom code, and you can make it executed via particular application. Not only Firefox, not only as I said to you before, there are network services could be running on Windows network devices. When we have access to it, those applications will be already running with a higher privilege. When we have direct access to it on the memory, direct memory access will be restricted in most of the scenarios. But even with minimum knowledge or minimum leverageable tools, we can inject a code in memory or make it buffer. We can fill the memory stack with unwanted information just to make crash or to manipulate the actual functionality. Cyber attack lifecycle, or we can also call it as a cyber kill chain. This is called a cyber kill chain. What are the phases of attack and how we do the attack? This is also described and prescribed by NIST, and the code for it SP 800-150. These are the level. There are 7 stages of attack lifecycle. So each and every phase is very much important. The first phase would be reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is understanding, gathering information, collecting information and analyzing it, identifying it, who are you and what is the target is all about. What is the weakness or what is the infrastructure, researching on it. The researching and development and everything happening on the reconnaissance phase is to identify each and every single pinpoint information to make use of it. And the second thing is weaponizing. Weaponizing is a phase we'll be particularly crafting a payload. So every targeted attack will have a specific environment in mind. So the attacker will not deploy a Mac-based malware to your Windows infrastructure or Windows-based malware to your Mac-based infrastructure. That will not be obviously useless. If I want to target your mainframe computer, my payload will be different. If I want to target your Linux computers, the payload will be different. After understanding and detailedly gathering information about your network, if the Maltigo comes in, it would be easy for me to show. I can show you like a tree-like view. For example, if this is the computer organization, the Multigo can give you information about each and every folder. This is the category. For example, if ref logs would be a finance department, and under program files might be a IT department under IT subdivisions. You can correlate it with the regular file structure in my Windows Explorer to a GPO or domain structure, how it configured, and what are the operating systems in it. So when I fingerprint the network, came to know that what operating system and what an IP address, what are the subnets involved in, what are the ports open involved in, everything after a gathering, I create a customized payload just for your environment. And after crafting it, I'll get it ready. The third phase is the delivery phase. The delivery phase could be phishing emails, drive-by downloads, or malvertising, or internal redirects, or if I'm able to possibly poison your DNS, it will be routed to your wrong website to download the payload. Or as we've seen that web session spoofing, multiple vectors can be done. Or we've seen in the Stuxnet scenario, I'll copy the malware and throw it outside your company premise. Any of your employee could pick up the pen drive and get it connected on your computer, which is inside your network. So anyway, the malware delivered to it. After delivery, the exploitation phases start. The exploitation phase actually execute after what the payload is designed is delivered to it. It starts executing. And the phase 5 is collecting the additional information or gathering additional information from the CNC C2 servers, or installing it, or making it remotely accessible. What exactly installs? It may be installing a backdoor, it may be a remote access Trojan, or it may be settling up. Just to give with the elevator privilege, it might be residing in a computer without any action. It might be in rest. So the 6 command and control center will give the instruction on what to do, what are the things to be performed. Because any malware and every malware is designed, the most advanced malwares will obviously need a command and control center. They will not act on its own. When they have no connectivity with the CNC center, the purpose would be simply idle, or if they did not work for a particular month or particular time frame, just like the expiry date. If there is an expiry date, if they are not able to reach the command center after installation for more than 30 days or 40 days, they will self-destruct itself and they will delete itself from the. And the phase 7, once the things are done, when the CNC receives the command and it gets additional packages and installs itself on the network, it is ready. Now the attacker is good to go, and he can do anything, whatever he wishes to on the network, on the compromised environment. These are the 7 steps, layer by layer approach. Initially, from gathering information or identifying or understanding the target, we'll be customizing, especially craft a malware which is specific for the environment. Third, we deliver it, and after delivering it, the exploit starts and it installs a remote accessible pieces of software that ensures stubborn persistence on the target environment. And command and control center on the phase 6, hacker uses the install bug to launch a remote CNC channel with the compromised device, so the communication securely happens. 7, act on the objectives. So this is the place where the actual user hacker's interference or hacker's motive will be achieved. This is the cyber kill chain matrix. What we seen previous slide, which was almost the same with explanation, but it shows how it goes. So what are the things we can do? Proactive control, protection and detection. That has to be in the phase within reconnaissance, weaponize, and delivery phase. The protection and detection mechanism has to be in place. But when it passes to the stage 5 installation command and center objectives, what we do, that will be reactive. The 2 types of response we provide: proactive response and reactive response. And reactive controls are incident response and recovery on when it crosses the exploitation phase and after it gets installed on the local premise. Reconnaissance, weaponize, deliver, exploit, install, communicate to the CNC, attack on the object. Phase 1, what are reconnaissance phases? Effort of an attacker towards gathering maximum information in the target, in the network information, architecture information, operating system, and other specific information on it. The data can be gathered from public source or dumpster diving or Google search, social engineering, any means, any whatever the means it may be, the attacker will gather information about your organization. So this is the phase where he'll be identifying who are the active users, who are the directors, or who are the IT administrators, and what kind of credentials are used, what are the things can be used, whose account can be compromised easily for the first time. So it might be helpful to breach others' account as well. So the objective, what are the types? Active intrusion, they perform the penetration testing and they use the cyber weapons to test in the attack. So passive is already gathering or paying amount or paying some amount and getting information about your company. Actively, if I'm not participating on collection of your data, that is passive. I can use some other source to gather information about you. So what are the tools available apart from the physical human intelligence? A variety of freely available resources are used for gathering and correlating information on it. What are the things? Google Tricks, Shodan, Zoomeye, Census, dark web marketplaces for gathering leaked details of servers and users information. So there are marketplaces available where you can purchase the leaked information of user credentials. Sometimes even hackers can post it on a paste bin where you can use the credentials to try access it. It is most common when hacker steals the Netflix, the Amazon Prime account. These accounts are easily hacked and these credentials are easily available across, and a single account was shared between multiple users. That's happening. We cannot control them, but still it happens. So what are the ways we can mitigate on the reconnaissance phase? There should be a proper detection and prevention control in each and every layer. The system hardening and vulnerability management and patching and configuration manager are the key objective, key controls available. When you harden the image, harden the operating system, when all the vulnerabilities are patched, there is no vulnerable, no existing one, and the softwares and the network devices, the applications and everything is configured properly. Configured properly means the right configuration suits for your enterprise or an environment. And also the policy streamlining. In the first phase, we can use the deception technology. Deceptions are nothing but it is like a regular computer or regular device which will be imitating or mimicking the actions, wherein user bots or user tools which they try to penetrate inside the network will think this is also one kind of tool. It's like a toy or robo or someone in disguise to compare to a real life scenario. Someone in disguising as a clown or someone disguising as a house owner. You might be come across with multiple examples. It is something like the same attacks will be also happening on the honeypot. The honeypot will not get damaged because their main purpose is to get attacked and get compromised and get breached. And these attacks compromisation will be logged, and these are a primary source. These are the initial vectors. The honeypots will be kept on the initial layers where the detection will happen, the intrusion will happen. So when there is any alert or any tamper in the settings or configuration with the notification, we can also go for a next level of protection. Once the alert is already triggered, it's obviously of us to jump into the action. The phase two, what we discussed on, this is the weaponization phase. Hacker goal is to create bot or a Trojan or a malware, whichever suits your infrastructure, specially crafted. If you don't have an email server hosted on your premise, I will not include a component which attacks the Exchange server or a Domino server, or I won't have an additional module which needs to be included in the existing payload. I just target a Windows-based operating system and a Windows-based servers. That's enough. If I see your endpoint computers are worthless, I just need to target your server. Web server would be obviously hosted, publicly hosted, or internally hosted, or intranet. I need to take down. I need to specifically write on the include a package which is on the web server. Servers may be running typically they use IIS or Apache servers. The most commonly. If you use a different kind of web server, I use a specific payload which can take down your web server. The only thing I need. This phase, I'll be understanding, I'll be making a package customly. I'll wrap it up with the gift package and get it ready. So what are the tools I can use it for? I can use Metasploit, Whale Framework, Lucky Strike. These are the frameworks which are available for us to customize or customizely create package in matter of just few clicks or one or two lines of commands. These are already done. There are in India, in globally, we find more script kiddies. Script kiddies are the people who really want to become a hacker and does not possess programming knowledge or inability to write code, but they are somehow smart. They get the tools downloaded from internet. They go through blogs or go through the darknet to read some articles on how to read. They use the predefined or pre-customized scripts which are available. Even in this session, when we searched on pastebin, we found multiple exploits written in multiple languages. So that can be used on the existing framework and we can customize it and deploy it as per the need. So the delivery phase, what is it? The delivery phase after making the package for you, it's gift wrapping up, sending your name, whatever it may be. This is the objective is to deliver the actual weapon inside your environment. We can use any type of tool like social engineering, can distribute the malware containing USB drives, malware advertisement, anything. So what we can do for mitigation, Mitigation, you can use IDS, IPS, firewall, and if I'm targeting on a web application server, I can install a web application firewall. And also, there is a strict security training to be given to the employees. Employees is the very first source and very first misconfiguration we can call, error we can call, because we humans always tend to do mistakes. How many times we do accidentally or repeatedly, wantedly, unknowingly, we'll do something which are not to be meant, which are not to be done on the enterprise, which can take down the server for some time. Even a single reboot. Everyone know that we should not reboot a computer when during the production hours. But accidentally, if someone instead of log off, he clicked on the shutdown. Instead of log off, he clicked on a restart. There is a server will take at least 5-10 minutes to get a proper boot up. During the time, it will be also like a denial of service attack, but due to a human error. So proper training of about the security and how should we respond to the every cyber incident when we receive an email from a strange person. What are the things we need to look into it? What are the best practices we need to? If every computer is provided with antivirus or some solutions, if they keep on popping up with notifications stating there is a virus or a malware or the antivirus is out of date, we need to educate the user to reach out to the help desk or the service desk so that it will be notified to the right people and we can get into the work and get to fix it. So the training and awareness program is important for any employee from any level. So any human, it's a tendency of a human to make mistakes. Exploitation phase, the phase 4, this is the phase after delivering the package gets into the environment. The exploitation of payload actually gets into it, and already known vulnerabilities are getting exploited during this phase. So what are the type of attack I can do? I can do malware dropper. Malware dropper or nothing but a small component which does not have any malicious functionality and other than downloading something from internet. I write a single line of code. Once it's executed or once similar action or similar event, I mean logic bombs multiple we can create a single line of code, download a particular file from it and run. This can be written on a single batch file. I don't need to be a good programmer to write a batch script or a PowerShell script to download a file and execute. That can be done. It is a human tendency to download any file can be run. So the malware dropper will just download it and install the other software from your remote code execution. That's also remotely from your computer. You can exploit, you can take control, you can run, you can execute commands on a remote machine. Buffer overflow, we already seen that integer overflow, buffer overflow, system crash, memory leak. These are more common. Mitigation control, what can we do? We can implement the process monitoring, host intrusion detection system, anti-malware, system hardening. Again, we come back to the security awareness. Installation, after the successful installation, if it's already customized malware, which is ready for environment, it's done. Or in case if it's a malware downloader, it downloads and gets it installed on the computer. It makes sure that whenever a user deletes or antivirus deletes malware, it tries to recover. Or if some portion of the malware is deleted, it again downloads it. Or if some portion of malware is missing, it somehow wants to retain its persistence in the network. Host intrusion detection system are typically software based. When it placed on a network, intrusion detection system is just like a device which is on a pass through device, not like a firewall. What firewall does, it monitors every traffic. It based on the rules, every traffic it lets in or blocks in. Intrusion detection system, it lets every traffic inside and it makes a tracks of it. So when something is malicious and when something is similar to a malware behavior or suspicious behavior, it creates an alert. That is the only difference. If it's an intrusion prevention system, instead of alert, it will block. So that is the difference between IPS and IDS. So when the same kind of detection system is installed in a host, that is a application that comes along with the antivirus, for example. So this is one of the antivirus, which is enterprise edition, which is available. You can see that network and host exploits mitigation is one of the component. What actually it does is it monitors the incoming and outgoing traffic, and it also has a intrusion prevention system built in. So this component is called HIPS, host-based intrusion prevention. So when it's on a network level, it is network-based intrusion prevention. So there are multiple components, antivirus and spyware. Proactive threat protection will have additional components like sonar and application device control, etc. So when it's software, it's software host-based intrusion prevention. So what are the mitigation? The network security control, endpoint security control, server hardening, the server monitoring, user behavior analysis. The user behavior analysis is an important task in getting stuff. So, I mean, we cannot always expect the attack happening from the outside. If it's a bad employee acting inside a company, or what if a hacker want to hack into your company, But if he's unsuccessful outside, it is so easy for anyone to get a low cost job when you have a potential to earn lakhs in money. When you clear up an interview, and if you are a fresher, obviously if a company wants to just pay you 10, 15,000, obviously the company would be happy identifying a best person. The HRs even will be happy. I got a best resource for the low cost. So what happens when he comes in? Real intention is not to earn the 10,000 or 15,000 what the company gives in, just to get into the infrastructure and physically. That is a intruder. I mean, insider. When a person acts inside and he acts against your company, not only a hacker needs to be done. When unsatisfied employee, I mean, with the poor appraisals or poor hike, poor growth, anything it may be, whatever the human tendency, whatever things makes a human behave abnormal or go beyond the ethical way. User behavior analytics. Swift incident response is very important in any such an attempt. Swift is nothing but how fast we can react, how efficient we can react. When an incident is notified, when the incident, an alert related to incident was triggered, what are the measures we have in hand? What are the plan we already have in hand? What is the initial step we need to do? And what are the precautionary measures we'll be taking in to slow down the attack? Because it is impossible to immediately stop the attack. It is obviously possible to slow down the attack. When a malware breaches the computer, in a minute it reaches 100 computers, we can reduce it to reach 50 computers a minute, but it cannot be stopped on a single time. So slowing down the computer, and if particular network segment is getting infected, we can take the network down, I mean particular segment down, and specifically we can control them, what happens, or investigation team, incident response team, what they do. There are multiple specialists available. The antivirus specialist, the SM specialist, the alert management specialist, or data recovery specialist, even the forensic specialist are available on site. How organized they are and how they react and how fast they react and respond to the particular incident. That's called swift incident response. The command and control center, after the installation of backdoors or the malware is previously staged, this is the place where it communicates to the CNC center. We go through the objective. It establishes a connection between the internal host and the external command and control center. Many times the CNC communication takes place in a small, unnoticeable chunk. Hence, the communication is not made often. The frequency of the communication between the existing malware and the CNC center will not be much frequent. Will be like a smaller package, because for a human, we need a message to be said, mitigate the risk. The actual location is there. But for a machine, it is easy. We can program a code. If we receive a number one, start the attack. If you receive the number two, wait for the response. If I receive the command number three, self-destruct. So the size of the message received by the end malware or sent by that will be a small chunk that will go unnoticed. For complex ATP, the CNC servers are moved frequently from one IP or another IP. This is not only happening for complex ATPs, even the ransomwares are having multiple servers. Every day the servers are getting routed or keeps on moving. But these APTs will be able to identify the next IP address, I mean next URL, because these IP addresses or web URLs are generated using a hashing algorithm. So obviously the malware will know what would be the next IP address. So everything is pre-programmed, or logically it will make the decision on it. The mitigation, advanced network security control, the correlation between endpoint security controls, user behavior again goes to the same swift response in any such attempt. The plan of action is everything is after getting into it. Finally the attacker will carries out his work, and the mitigation on this stage is often too late because everything is set and everything is ready for the attacker to proceed. The swift response and recovery is the key, and also it is essential to detect the bug or malware which is communicating to the CNC center. Thing which we need to find it in the phase 5, phase 6 we left, phase 7 it's too late. So obviously we need to plan for some other disaster recovery or backup. That is the plan of action on the 7. The phase 7, it's obviously we say that it's too late, it's almost over. The same thing in a different diagram. Reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, CNC, and action. So what is a layered approach? How depth we can get in? So the defense is not a single tier architecture. It's a multi-tier architecture. Every layer we implement security. So the core is the data. So for protecting the data, what are we doing is data backup, local or offsite, and also the plans for disaster recovery, business continuity is the next layer. The first layer of approach which target attacker needs to pass through is the security policy. Security policy is the first layer which is protecting everything. When the policy is properly placed and appropriately the controls are set, I would not say that it will stop the attack, it will slow down the attack. When the user education and application updates are done, again, it will slow down the attack, or sometimes the possibility of blocking the attack is there. Web security filtering, wireless security. So layer by layer, we'll be defending every segment. So every layer an attacker passes through, the speed of his breach or the intensity of his attack is slowing down. So what are the security controls we have? Email security that will keep on monitoring your incoming and outgoing emails, your data loss prevention or information rights management software to ensure that the data are confidentially safe or it resides inside your network firewall to secure your network traffic, cyber threat intelligence or platform feed. Cyber threat intelligence are commonly available with vendors like Verizon, Symantec, FireEye. These are openly available. We can subscribe to it, and sometimes most of intelligence are free for most of the customers. Detection and response, advanced threat protection, user behavior analytics, intrusion prevention detection, web application firewall. Each and every log from every application or everyday security device are fed into the security events and incident monitoring application, which correlates each and every incident and every log. Why was the particular incident is related? It just analyzes how could this log be compared or correlated, or what is the dependency of the log. With this we can identify what are the relations between the logs from various sources on a particular instant or event. Essential practices, cyber defense in depth. What are the things we need to do? The risk awareness culture, building up, educating the user, building up the awareness, the proper access control management, and also securing your cloud, creating, maintaining your up-to-date inventory. Asset inventory is the main key. You need to know your assets and also the configuration. So be vigilant to the threat intelligence and external, both internal, and focus on security by design. Even from the any design, any network or any new infrastructure design, start including security as a best practice on all the things. Not only the cost factor, the performance factor, the implementation factor, how reliable or how usable it is. Security has to be contributing a major factor in it. Think about the security and add other attributes to your infrastructure and also your business process as well. Security framework, there are a lot of security frameworks available, and as we already know that we will be discussing on NIST, NIST cybersecurity framework, which is guidelines provided by the security leader. So once it's fed, we have the option of making it SAM to live monitor. It can traffic or live monitoring a particular folder or gather information periodically. We can configure as ever we can. Characteristic, it's measurable, cost balance, technology agnostic, flexible and repeatable, and common linguistic. So it should be common understood by every business and adaptable to every business, and it can be measured how much we can implement, how much we can neglect. It can also help us to balance the cost involved in the implementing security in the infrastructure. And also technology wise, we can implement in which technology, which concept or which control we can use. It's flexible for any type of environment and it's repeatable. So this is the objective of a cyber security framework, which is prescribed by NIST. So what happens initially, describe the current security posture, where the security of your enterprise or environment currently is in. And you need to identify what is the target security procedure. So if you understand where you stand, you need to decide where you move. So the improvement has to be identified. The difference between the current state and the next state should be identified, and the improvement has to be continuous. Once we move, repeat the process of target and assess the target posture. If there is any risk, communicate. Again, it's a cyclable process. It is repeating. Whenever we complete a single phase, it goes to the next phase in a clock. It's a repeating circle. Some of the other frameworks, high trust, which takes care of health insurance and information related to the health sector. HIPAA is also one of the thing. PCI DSS, which specifically talks about the digital transaction and digital cash cards, debit card, credit card, etc. ISO has multiple standards. 27,000, which is on generic requirements on security requirements, what is needed for the organization, and ISO 27002 is on implementing the required controls on the environment. Security system controls, NIST frameworks, on the other hand. So these are the frameworks which will provide you the guidelines on how to secure your data and your infrastructure. So these are the key elements of cybersecurity program, considering business priorities, assets and processes, document formal cybersecurity strategy and create a goal and objective on it, define formal framework or risk management controls. If you are not formally able to follow it, there are risk management controls already available freely. can implement readily available security frameworks from it, evaluate what is your current strategy and where you are up to, building a plan, and to understand. Actually, you need to monitor and repeat the process again and again to make the improvements. The improvement from 0 to 100 will not be achieved on a single cycle. It might take 100 cycles or 200 cycles, and the fraction of improvement should be always constant. So NIST cybersecurity framework has components: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. These are the 5 steps which are prescribed it. In the identification phase, you need to identify the assets in your management, your business environment. What is your current risk assessment happen, and what is your current risk management strategy? So these are the thing. Identification phase, you need to identify your existing state. The protection, so only after identification you can protect your computers or provide access control, provide training, data security, provide technology, anything. The protection phase comes next. And third thing will be detection. If there is any abnormality, anomalies, there is any threat, the detection phase. So once it detects, the phase 4 will talk about how you respond. What is the response plan? How to communicate, how soon the communication has to be sent to the right team, or if it's a major risk, whether it has to be communicated or cascaded to the stakeholders, or it can be handled internally or externally. So every plans and everything's will be handled on. The recovery phase will talk on the BCP or disaster recovery, or how do we improvise the existing plan. Thank you.